Jessica L. was born on January 5th, 1965 in New Delhi, India. Since childhood, Jessica was considered very beautiful and intelligent. As the years passed, those close to Jessica said her beauty only increased, and soon she began working as a model. However, at that time, being a model in India wasn't very profitable, and the few campaigns available for this type of work did not pay very well. Basically, a model was expected to participate in small films or occasionally in one or two campaigns per year for a specific brand. As the years went by and when Jessica was just over 30, she could no longer find modeling jobs and began doing small odd jobs to pay the bills. In 1999, the Tamarind Court restaurant, located in Murali, was recruiting beautiful women to serve its high-end clients as bartenders. Some sources claim it was actually the Kutub Colonnade restaurant. But in any case, this establishment was part of a huge network of luxury restaurants specializing in local food and, catering to a very select audience. The clientele consisted of the wealthiest and most influential people in India, from, movie and music stars to politicians and millionaires of all kinds. And that's where the family members lived. And the people that were close to me, for some reason, on April 29th of that year, Jessica decided to accept the restaurant's invitation to work as a waitress at a party organized by the famous Indian socialite Beena Ramani. With an estimated guest list of 500 people, one of them would later stand out: Manu Sharma, the son of Vinod Sharma, a wealthy and influential local politician. The night went smoothly, and the party was a success. That morning, on April 30th, around 300 guests were still at their tables, chatting and saying goodbye to friends. Some waiters were cleaning the tables and collecting chairs. The bar was closed, and it was around 2 a.m. when Manu decided he wanted one more drink before leaving. He went up to the counter with his friends and asked Jessica for a cocktail. But since the bar was already closed, as I mentioned, Jessica refused to serve them as she was getting ready to leave. Manu didn't like this, and to show off how wealthy he was, he said he would pay $1,000 for the drink. But Jessica had been instructed by the restaurant owner that after a certain hour, no more drinks could be served. He told Jessica, because I've been conjured by a Mork who spoke to me during my pilgrimage, but he says you have to free your mind from the cocktail. This made Manu furious, and he repeated that he would pay $1,000 for the drink, saying she didn't earn that much in an entire month of work. Jessica simply smiled and turned to leave. At that moment, Manu stepped in front of Jessica, drew a gun, and pointed it at her. The enraged man fired a shot into the air and again demanded the drink. In shock, Jessica stood frozen while chaos erupted around her, with people running for cover. Then Manu pointed the gun at Jessica again and fired. Afterward, the criminal and his friends fled the scene. Everyone there panicked, and most of the people saw Manu running away. Jessica was immediately taken to the hospital, and her family was informed of the incident. However, after a few hours, the woman did not survive and passed away in the hospital. There were about 300 people at the party, but unfortunately, none of them came forward as witnesses. Many identified Manu Sharma as the culprit, but no one was willing to testify against him. Fortunately, Jessica's friends and colleagues decided to file an official complaint, one of them even being by Jessica's side the night she was shot. Manu Sharma was taken into police custody, and during the preliminary investigation, he confessed to the crime. However, a few days later, the case was dismissed, according to the police chief, due to technical, procedural issues. After that, one by one, all the witnesses began to retract their statements. Some were bribed by Manu's father, and others were threatened, but Sabrina, Jessica's sister, wanted justice for her sister and continued fighting against this corrupt system. On August 3rd, 1999, a charge was once again filed against the perpetrator and 8 other individuals. These 8 people were all children of local politicians and allegedly helped Manu escape the crime scene and cover up his tracks. On November 23, 2000, a first-instance judge found Manu Sharma guilty, and he was to be tried in criminal court. However, since all the witnesses had withdrawn their statements, the police were unable to present a valid charge, and once again, Manu was required. This time, he was required to remain available to the justice system whenever requested. On February 21, 2006, the Delhi High Court acquitted all the accused due to a lack of evidence. This led to a massive sense of impunity among the population. Much of the local media decided to help Jessica's family, and many reporters were determined to seek justice. Some magazines seized the opportunity to expose the flaws in the justice system. Several newspapers began publishing articles revealing the evidence collected at the crime scene. Shayan Munshi, the colleague who was with Jessica that night, decided to speak out and appeared on several TV shows where he explained how everything had happened. He emphasized that Jessica lost her life simply because she refused to serve a drink to a spoiled, drunk young man. According to him, Manu was trying to impress his friends by showing off his power and arrogance. He constantly mentioned that he was the son of a powerful man and shouted at everyone around him. On March 13, 2006, after intense media and public pressure, an appeal was filed in the Supreme Court, and proceedings for a trial finally began 25 days later. On December 5, 2006, Manu Sharma's trial began. The jury found him guilty of the crime, and he was sentenced to life imprisonment, as well as ordered to pay a compensation of 5,700 rupees to the victim's family. However, this case was not limited to just the accused and the victim, but extended to all the individuals involved. Sabrina, Jessica's sister, did not lose hope that the other 8 people who were with Manu, who did nothing to stop him and even helped him escape, would be punished by the justice system. Fortunately, all of them were eventually arrested and received sentences ranging from 15 to 25 years in prison for aiding in the escape, tampering with evidence, using an unregistered firearm, making threats, and failing to assist the victim. Sharma appealed his sentence twice, hiring the most expensive lawyers in all of India, but the High Court and the Supreme Court upheld his conviction and life sentence. However, during his time in prison, he received various benefits. First, in April 2010, Manu was allowed to stay at home for 30 days to visit his sick mother, and after this period, another 30 days were granted. He was also given the right to undergo several health treatments, and in total, he spent about 120 days outside of prison. During this time, Manu decided to get involved in many charitable works. He founded several associations, foundations, and an NGO for the rehabilitation of prisoners, with the help and influence of his father. By following this path, Manu appeared to be on the road to redemption and possible release through parole. Everyone believed this kindness had a single purpose: to get out of prison, as a new deadline for sentence review was approaching. And sure enough, it happened. On May 10, 2020, Manu Sharma was released from prison at the age of 43. He had spent only 17 years in prison, but the judge responsible for reviewing his sentence believed he was rehabilitated and ready to live in society again. The most absurd part of all this is that Manu was not as first granted parole, as is typically the case with other prisoners. He was granted full freedom. Upon leaving prison, Manu changed his name to Siddharth Vashista and seems to have become some sort of guru preaching peace and humanity among people. In an interview, he said that he is now a changed person and asked for forgiveness from Sabrina, Jessica's sister. Although many people believe that Manu only manipulated others to gain his freedom, some believe he truly became a new human being, especially because all the charitable works and NGOs he helped, while imprisoned, continued their activities. On the contrary, Manu and his father expanded these organizations throughout India, and he began to be treated as a philanthropist and benefactor of the needy, a role he continues to hold to this day. Even Sabrina, the victim's sister, seems to have believed in the man's change. In an interview with the NDTV network, she said, "For a long time, he has been doing good charity work and helping prisoners in various penitentiaries, which I feel is a reflection of his transformation, and maybe one day, I might forgive him." Despite Jessica's family seeming to be satisfied with the minimal sentence Manu served, a large part of the population was not. There were numerous protest campaigns as well as rallies, marches, and candlelight vigils. These protests were led by the Victim Protection Group, who also criticized the Indian justice system, saying that Manu should remain behind bars. The police commissioner of New Delhi even announced an investigation to identify failures in the judicial process, and the patriotism was banned by Manu legislators in feeling that he had personally put down more of a hand in the case, for all he saw on the surface, versus yet the powers that be could orchestrate his arrest. Among other things, he would examine whether there was a conspiracy for Manu's release and potential tampering with evidence. But unfortunately, nothing has changed to this day. Ultimately, the case of Jessica L. is considered one of the most famous in India, mainly because it involved many people from the elite, and all were somehow held accountable. In any case, if Manu Sharma had controlled his anger, Jessica would still be alive today. Being the son of an influential politician, he had no fear of being caught or even going to jail. Everyone knows that if the media had not interfered in this case, Jessica would not have received justice. This day, it's a fact that the media gave the case a new direction, leading to Manu Sharma's life sentence. And in a way, despite everything, at least he received some form of punishment for his crimes. It's really just good governance replacing it with new orders on the federal level.